back, yes. There we go. Perfect. What is this? Huh? Vocabulary? What did you call it?
Vocab list.
Vocab. It's the cab to understanding. Ah. Nice. All this can go in newsletter. Yeah, perfect. Your life got better in an instant.
One of those aha moments.
Yes. So, Ramagiri is not coming?
There's only 2 people on here, Swamiji. So
Okay, maybe he's online.
yeah, I don't know if he's on here. He's not on here. Oh, because there's only 2. One of them's us.
So, we will start.
Swamiji,
Yes? Yes?
we have a Jiva who is born today.
Ah, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
69 times opening my eyes.
Oh,
and saying,
wonderful. Very, very nice. Om Namah Shivaya. Enjoy. May you have many, many more. Lots of good health, long life, and cheerfulness is our prayer for you.
It's a good prayer. Accepted with relish.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai
Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vishavahai.
Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Om Bhadram Karnebhyah Shriniyaama Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaistushtvagam sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitai Yadayuhu
Swastina Indro
Vridhashravah Swasti nah Pusha Vishvavedah Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspati'r Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti
Shanti.
Yeah. So we saw yesterday that even space, when it is divided, so to speak, what is the intermediary factor between one space and another space? Space. That itself shows that space itself cannot be divided, because if space really could be divided, the mediating factor between stomach space and head space would not be space, right? So that itself shows that space cannot be, even though space is mithya, it cannot be divided. Think about it, this is fantastic. So what to talk about? Brahman, Bhagavan, which is the adhishthana, the author, the whole truth of space. So mithya space cannot attack Satyam Brahma. Just like the snake cannot bite the rope. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, the rope cannot go to the doctor and say, a rope doctor, and say that please save me because the snake has bit me. This is ridiculous. So therefore, this is something, this whole discussion, is important, because it's not just for this mantra, yeah. It's going to go in the next one, it's going to become even more clear, and after that also, there is a certain trajectory here. So this whole discussion is very, very important to understand that this whole space itself cannot be divided. So what to talk about consciousness, Brahman? So if space can divide consciousness, then the snake can cut up the rope into pieces. So space cannot divide consciousness. In fact, space itself is indivisible. This is something all Vedanta teachers love, this example of space itself being indivisible. And all Vedanta, what's the word for it, works, like, what is that one called? Advaita Makaranda and some others. They keep reveling in this example that space cannot be divided. What to talk of that, which is the Adhisthana, which is the author of space? How can that be divided? Because, in between, if consciousness were able to be fragmented because it happens to be as though enclosed in an upadhi, consciousness enclosed in an upadhi, like burrito, You go to Mexican shop or restaurant and you order burrito. And then what? Then inside that they will put beans and I don't know what else they put, some cheese and what else, rice. Sometimes they put some leaves, they put, and then they roll it up, And so, so let us just say that it is just a bean burrito, there's no other thing inside it. For our example, we have to modify the burrito. Yeah, you can't have all these other fixings in it. I'll tell you why very quickly, it will become evident why not. So you have bean burrito, there's not even cheese, vegan, And so you stuff the bean and then roll it up, correct? And you have this thing here. The bean is consciousness, right? And what is that called outside? That tortilla. That tortilla, that wrap, it's sometimes called wrap. Yes. So, and this wrapper is the upadhi, correct? Yeah. The upadhi grows up to become a wrapper. That's why I use that example. Remove the W, R-A-P-P-E-R. So therefore, this whole thing is very fascinating, because this bean is consciousness, and then the beans are held in place by this upadhi that as it were encloses consciousness. Okay? So how many burritos? So many, correct? And then you denude them, then what happens? Only bean, correct? Beans prevail. The burrito comes and goes. That's what it is. This, for our example, we have to say that we have to imagine that the burrito is made up of, the wrap is self-destructive. Yeah, it self-destructs, and the bean goes back into this whole vat of beans from which it came. Same thing. So then, now, this much we know from the example. Now, let us take it a step further. And this is fascinating, because now let's say that the wrap that encloses this, what? Burrito. In other words, this consciousness that is enclosed as it were enveloped as it were by an upadhi, as though, as it were, always I'm saying, okay? And if I don't say it, you say it for me. So this consciousness, which is as though enclosed by your upadhi, is here, okay? Upadhi number 1, which is nothing but consciousness, as it were wrapped in an upadhi, just like this wrap, okay? Then here is upadhi number 2. And what is that? Another consciousness? No. The same consciousness wrapped by, as it were, by another what? Upadhi. Yes. Upadhi means that wrapper. This is what it is. Then you have the third one. What is that third one? The third consciousness? No. Third what? Upadhi, wrapping as it were the consciousness. So what is coming in between Upadhi consciousness package number 1, Upadhi consciousness package number 2, Upadhi consciousness package number 3? What is the intermediary factor? What? Yeah. So what is the intermediary factor? You know, in terms of the burrito, you will say space, correct? Between burrito A, burrito B, burrito C, there is space. Right? Yeah. But remember that the wrapper is invisible. It is as though, from the standpoint of the eyes of Vedanta, the tortilla is not even there. Correct? Because we have Jnana Chakshu. What is Jnana Chakshu? Eyes of knowledge. Chakshu means eyes. Yeah. So we have the eyes of knowledge, and from the eyes of knowledge, what are we seeing? Only beans. Bean. That's what. Correct? And so here too, the upadhis don't matter. Really speaking, space is also an upadhi. So between one upadhi, which is as though enclosing consciousness, another upadhi as though enclosing consciousness, upadhi number 3 as though enclosing consciousness, in between what is there? The answer should be consciousness. Why? That space which is another upadhi of consciousness. So between one upadhi and another upadhi, what is the intermediary factor? One more upadhi. Correct? So what do we know about upadhis? You know, that's another thing you can define and bring. So what do we know about upadhis? If you look at the English definition, of upadhi, the English, not definition, what is that called? Translation. What kind of adjunct? Limited adjunct. Yeah. Yeah, that is, what do you understand? Limited adjunct. Nothing. What can you understand? In fact, whatever understanding you had is gone as a result of, reading limited adjunct. First of all, what is adjunct, I only know adjunct professor, meaning somebody who comes, for one term and teaches and goes. That's what it is. I don't know any other adjunct. So here anyhow, limited adjunct. So if adjunct is indeed that which comes and goes, that itself is enough. Why limited? And then the limited adjunct definition raises further questions. How can the limited envelop the limitless and make it into a consciousness burrito? How is that possible? This is something, very difficult to, this translation is little problematic. But really speaking, all translations will be problematic. Because the word upadhi has no translation. Like Rasagulla, it doesn't have a translation. Yeah. How are you going to describe, how are you going to translate Rasagulla? A gulla that is soaked in rasa. What is this gulla? I don't know. I mean, you can say cheese balls or whatever it is, and you have to just give without giving the whole recipe, you cannot define Rasagulla. You just cannot. So you have to give the whole recipe, then only you know what it is. So upadhi is also like that. You have to have a whole discussion about it, then you know what it is. Upadhi means that mithya, a mithya factor that as though separates or conditions consciousness. That is what we say. There is another way of looking at upadhi. They say that it is a kind of a reflection of consciousness. So there are two theories which abide, in Vedanta to explain the unexplainable and to understand that which cannot be, that which cannot be objectified. That which is oneself alone, which need not even be objectified. But there are two reigning theories, long-standing theories. One is this avacchinnavada. Avacchinnavada means this whole conditioning theory. Don't think of shampoo, okay? They are not that kind of conditioning. Conditioner for the hair. No. So this conditioning theory, where you say that this consciousness is as it were limited, as it were conditioned by factors X, Y, Z, all of which are products of this consciousness. So, and what kind of products? Mithya products. They are as though products which are dependent upon this consciousness, so they are really not there. So the as though comes and sits on that which is not as though. This is the conditioning theory for this upadhi. Okay? Then this is called avacchinnavada. The other one is called, what is the other one called? Almost. You're almost there. It's on the tip of the tongue. Pratibimbavada. Very good. Pratibimbavada. Bimba and pratibimba. Pratibimba means the reflection of bimba. Yeah, so the reflection. Meaning there is one light. See, these people, the Pratibimbavadins, the Pratibimba people, say that there is one light, and this light is shining through various apertures. The upadhis are seen as apertures. So if you put one lamp and you cover it with a pot which has many holes, and you turn off all the other sources of light, and of course it should be dark, which is not a problem nowadays in Eugene. All the time it fits the bill. So then you see how many lights? You see as many lights as there are holes. Correct? Or you say that you filter this light through a mirror or many mirrors or many pots of water, any kind of reflecting surface. Then how many, like you have one sun and you put 25 pots of water. And in each pot of water there shines not half a sun or 1/25th of a sun, but the whole sun manages to shine in this measly pot of water. Correct? So this is the reflected consciousness theory, so which is called Pratibimbavada. More things to define. And then the other one is called Avacchinnavada, which is the so-called conditioned consciousness. Even in reflected consciousness, we have to say so-called reflected consciousness. Some people, swear by this reflected consciousness theory. And they use that, they are prolific in their use of this reflected consciousness, this Pratibimbavada people. And Panchadeshikara is one of them. But he also, I must say that he gives equal exposure to the other theory also. So, but nonetheless, this is very interesting because, the reflecting consciousness theory also has its problems. The conditioned consciousness theory both have problems. Why? Because we are trying to explain that which is kind of known but not fully known. So these theories are not postulating the Atma as it is, but they are just there to remove the ajnanam that is ensconced in the mind. So that if the theory works, it should remove the ajnanam without causing additional problems. That is all we want. We don't want it to establish the Atma because the consciousness doesn't need any establishment. It doesn't need to be established. It's already evident. And therefore, this is so interesting because if you take the conditioned theory, the Avacchinnavada, there is a problem. What is the problem there? this burrito problem. Consciousness is wrapped tightly in this thing called upadhi. Right? And then, and the upadhi is self-destructing, it's mithya, and in fact it is born of consciousness. Maybe the tortilla is also made of beans. This is nice. Yeah. So you can just, mash the beans and somehow make the wrapper is also made of beans. But what kind of beans? The beans that are the byproduct of this, as though byproduct of this consciousness. And so then this is wrapping it, and so it's difficult for some people to wrap the mind around this imagery of this all-pervasive, everywhere consciousness, limitless, like the fire, everywhere. And then what is happening to this consciousness? A piece of it is being wrapped by something else. First of all, it's not the piece of it. If we argue it's the whole of it, then what happened to the other upadhis? How all the upadhis have the same thing? This is one problem with the conditioning theory. And the problem with the reflecting theory is that what is the status of the reflecting medium? Is it satyam or is it mithya? Like even the water which is reflecting the sun. If it is satyam, then we are in deep, deep trouble. We can drown ourselves in the pots of water, kiss goodbye to this knowledge. Okay? If it is mithya, how can mithya reflect the satyam? This is another problem which is not answered. So as you know, both the theories are problematic. But we have to use something to help this understanding that everything has come out of one thing alone. And the coming and going is as though. The thing that has come out is also nothing, as though. So how to do this? And we use, in our lineage, we use the, which one? Avacchinnavada. This theory of conditioned, as though conditioned consciousness. Because it seems to have less problems, and it has been tried and tested on numerous subjects, who are now swamis. So that's a good news. and it has survived the test of being able to be understood properly without too much side journeys of trying to figure out something or the other. So in this is how that theory looks. You have these, filling, and then the filling is purna, correct? Yeah, that's why it's called filling. It should be very filling, purna. And so this filling is wrapped around a self-destructing upadhi, which has its own karmic trajectory. Karma is mithya, upadhi is mithya, and the space that defines one upadhi from another upadhi is also mithya. All of them are as though byproducts. As though products, because the consciousness does not produce. So how can it have products? But it is an as though product of this consciousness. And so the consciousness is indivisible, impartite, non-fragmented, and whole at all times. Understood? So space cannot fragment consciousness, because space itself cannot fragment itself, number one, and space is a product, as it were, of consciousness. So space cannot fragment consciousness. Consciousness is impartite. So consciousness as though has created these upadhis, and it has as though parceled itself out into these various upadhis, and to make matters more confusing, thrown in one more upadhi called space and another one called time, and to differentiate all these upadhis, and therefore everything that is unreal shines as real. Okay? All right. So with this small introduction, let us go visit the Bhashya and go from there. We had stopped at a very important, interesting place. Yeah. So, now, it will help if the book is the right side up. Okay. Bhashya. यथा सुदीप्तात्
यथा सुदीप्तात्
सुष्टुदीप्तात्
सुष्टुदीप्तात्
इद्धात्
इद्धात्
पावकात्
पावकात्
अग्नेः
अग्नेः
नॉट अग्नेः अग्नेः
अग्नेः
हाँ विस्फुलिंगाः
विस्फुलिङ्गाः
अग्नि
अग्नि
अवयवाः
अवयवाः
सहस्रशः
सहस्रशः
अनेकशः
अनेकशः
प्रभवन्ते
प्रभवन्ते
निर्गच्छन्ति
निर्गच्छन्ति
स्वरूपाः
स्वरूपाः
सलक्षणाः एव
सलक्षणाः एव
नॉट देयर
We've got Agni Salakshana. Agni comes again first.
oh okay doesn't matter
Agni Salakshana.
Agni is there okay doesn't matter yeah Agni salakshanaः
अग्निसलक्षणाः
एव
एव
तथा
तथा
उक्तलक्षणात्
उक्तलक्षणात्
अक्षराद्
अक्षरात्
विविधाः
विविधाः
नानादेहोपाधिः
नानादेहोपाधिः
भेदम् अनुविधीयमानत्वात् भेदम् अनुविधीयमानत्वात् भेदम्
भेदम्
अनुविधीयमानत्वात्
अनुविधीयमानत्वात्
विविधा
विविधा
हे सौम्य
हे सौम्य
भावः
भावः
What's happening?
भावाः
We have
भावाः
What?
हे सौम्य भावाः
Bhavaha Jiva.
Everything you have to have. You see, there is the sandhi rule of the visarga not being there. Yeah, if it is a.
I don't know what Swamiji did here. I'm sorry.
If you have bhava, you have to add a visarga if you're stopping there.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So there is no difference. So let us start again. Yeah. Tatha. We'll start from tatha. Tatha.
तथा
उक्तलक्षणात्
उक्तलक्षणात्
अक्षरात्
अक्षरात्
विविधाः
विविधाः
नानादेह
नानादेह
उपाधिभेदम्
उपाधिभेदम्
अनुविधीयमानत्वात्
अनुविधीयमानत्वात्
विविधाः
विविधाः
हे सौम्य
हे सौम्य
भावाः
भावाः
जीवाः
जीवाः
आकाशादि इव
आकाशादिव
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 घटादिपरिच्छिन्नाः
घटादिपरिच्छिन्नाः
सुशिरभेदाः
सुशिरभेदाः
घटादि
घटादि
उपाधिप्रभेदम्
उपाधिप्रभेदम्
अनुभवन्ति
अनुभवन्ति
yeah that's all because there is akara, if it's read together then we don't stop, but if it is read separately then we have to insert the visarga everywhere. Visargaha, we have to we have to just insert it, that's all. So therefore it's just a very you can see that the bhashya is warming up. It is getting a little serious, as I said. It is getting a little, I don't want to say it, little difficult, Sanskrit wise. It is getting a little more serious. It is honing in. And this is on purpose. Because by this time, one is in a place of, one can congratulate oneself. If one has survived this far, one can congratulate oneself on being a rather serious student, And again, this is not, despite the fact that Adi Shankara is accused of intellection, this is not about intellection. This is about cognitively using the aids that help us understand and remove the cobwebs of variously lurking doubts and vaguenesses in the mind. This is what this is about. So everything is an aid to know that which doesn't need any props, any aids. This is another paradox. Vedanta is full of such paradoxes, this one being one more, yet one more. So therefore what? So therefore we are having to, what's the word for it? Help the Bhashya out with various examples, that is why the whole, breakfast burrito discussion took place, because this is what it is coming to. And now the Bhashya will become very easy because we have already discussed what it is about to say. So here he is explaining the thing. So yatha sudhi, now we are starting the verse because up till now only the discussion of tad etat satyam took place. Now yatha sudiptat is here in the verse, in the mantra. So yatha sudiptat, sushtu diptat means well lit. Iddhat means indhana janitat. So that which has come from the, a fuel that is dry. So all these conditions for this fire, a fuel that is not smoky and wet, that has not been kept out in the rain, a fuel that is nice and dry, and a fuel that is full of, crackling possibilities. And then this fire is lit, a well-lit fire, not something that is dying out. That is an important part of this example, because if the fire is equal to consciousness, then you have to have at least a well-lit fire. You can't have something that goes out even before it creates a single Vispulinga. Correct? Yeah. Already the fire is a sad, pale comparison to consciousness, just like space is a sad and pale comparison to consciousness. Everything pales in front of consciousness. So at least, even if you are using this pale example, correct? At least let it be a well-lit fire. That's why it is a well-lit fire. So we have this blazing conflagration and we look at it and we can say, okay, the light of Atma is, I can at least look at this and see how the light of Atma is like this, which sustains all these other sparkly things, sparks, etc. Then, now, Iddhat Agnehe Vispulingaha, these sparks, and he explains what Pavakat, we have already seen the origin of Pavaka, and fire, out of this fire, and he says Agnehe, Pavakat, he says Agnehe, out of this fire, two names for fire, Agragami iti Agnihi, that which comes first. That is why Agni is used here. That which comes first. Why does it come first? Because without it there is no life. Without fire there is no life. Even when the baby is born, the doctor or the midwife will touch the baby to make sure that there is Agni. Not that the baby is on fire, but that 98.6, that is the fire. Yeah, that is the temperature. So the doctor first touches the baby and then only, goes to then slap it, shake it about and make it cry. All this comes later. First they will touch the baby. That's why Agni comes first. That's why he is also called Jata Veda. Jate jate vidyate iti Jata Vedas. Jata Vedaha. Jata Vedaha has another meaning. Veda here means Lakshmi, money. So Jata Vedaha means the one who gives rise to Lakshmi. Because the more yajnas you do for money, more money comes. That is the idea, I suppose. So here, Pavaka, the purifier, and it's interesting that Shruti uses, of all the words for Agni, it uses Pavaka, because the consciousness itself being pure, is the most pure thing and purifies everything else. There is nothing else to purify really. But all the so-called upadhis, stained by time, stained by the limitations of space, stained by the limitations of being a particular object in time and space, all those stains are purified by knowing this, the purifier of all purifiers. All the ajnanam is purified. Just like the fire purifies all the bacteria, this consciousness which is akin to this fire, that's why it's called pavaka, the purifier. This consciousness purifies, the knowledge of this consciousness purifies my ajnanam. This is the purest thing that is. Shantam, Shivam, and that is why it is called pavaka. Here it is, the drishtanta and the darshtanta, that which is compared to, and that the comparison itself, the example and that which is compared to, both are very, very appropriately chosen by this Shruti. So what out of this pavaka has come? Vispulingaha, sparks. And he quickly changes that into Agni Avayavaha. Agnehe Avayavaha. Avayava means limbs, parts of this fire. Limbs of this fire means an integral part of this fire alone it is. Because the word spark sparks off various misunderstandings. Divine spark. There exists in all of us a divine spark. You are a spark. I am a spark. And, the ruler of the country, another spark. Everyone is spark, 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 spark. Sparkling Jagat. You all came from the fire. People teach like this very verse. You all came from the fire of this Brahman, of this consciousness. And you are a tiny little infinitesimal piece of this tiny Brahman. There exists a baby Brahman in everyone. There is a divine spark organization. Yeah. And then everybody keeps, talking of spark, spark, spark. What is a spark? Here today, gone today. That is what the definition of spark is. And this divine spark is one problem because it creates, another technical term, anirmoksha prasangaha. Yeah, anirmoksha prasanga means a circumstance, prasanga, circumstance of anirmoksha, no moksha possible. So it creates the possibility of no moksha. Why? Are you happy being a spark? Are you happy being a small little fragmented piece of the whole? No. Oh, that's why I'm depressed. Yes, because this spark is the whole thing. If everybody is a small, tiny, you can't even look at it. Microscopic spark of this big thing, two problems are there. First of all, I can't have moksha, I can't enjoy the wholeness. Second of all, what happens to that big spark over there, which is the big spark, the fire itself, that itself has fragmented into various sparks. Two problems. One is there is no moksha possible, no freedom possible from this smallness, because even the knowledge says you are a small part of Brahman. Small, so small you can't even see. And you have to be happy knowing this? Come on, I deserve better. Why should I be happy knowing this? Already before the knowledge, before I came and what should I say, fried my brains in Vedanta and and Sanskrit, what did I think? What was my conclusion of myself? I am small. Correct? Yeah. And then after Jnanam, what is the conclusion that the Upanishad is giving me? You are still small. First you thought you were small, now you are a small part of Brahman, that's all. Everyone is small parts of Brahman. That's why you shouldn't dislike another spark, because one spark, and the other spark is the same. They both are finite. And And they both are coming out of that same divine thing, which is now also, we don't know whether it is finite or not, because we don't know how many upadhis it has given birth to, sparking here, sparking over there, and new species, all jivas, sthavaras, jangamas, moving things, stationary things, everything it has created. So it is losing the spark. It is losing sparks by the millions, correct? Yeah. So, therefore what? Therefore no moksha is possible. You have to be happy being small. But I can't be happy being small. Well, better luck next time. That's all you have to say. Next life perhaps you will get a non-sparking, teacher who does not believe in the spark theory. That is what you have to say. But the divine spark is not a happening thing. Not for one who is in touch with this vast, Grand Canyon-esque gap of, discomfort, discontent, dissatisfaction centered on the I. The spark business is not going to overcome that dissatisfaction. So even if he says, Adi Shankara says, Agni Avayavaha, means they are parts, that also is a problem. You are a little piece of that fire, I am a little piece of that fire. No. Because there is no other way to say this. The example, any germane example describing this whole situation will come up short. Yeah. So we have to concentrate on we have to move on to the next word. What is the next word? Sarupaha. Correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he quickly says, Agni Salakshanaha. Sarupaha means of the same nature. Meaning what? If consciousness is whole, then the consciousness which is as though enveloped by the upadhi is also what? Whole. Yeah, it's not a part. This is the whole thing. It is not apart from the fire. The sparks are not apart from the fire. They have the same nature. Agni Sarupaha. They have the same nature of the fire. The heat which is intrinsic to the fire, and what else? Light which is intrinsic to the fire. Every single spark shares. And since we know Vedanta, we have to see this, we have to take this one more step. And what is that one more step we have to take it to? We have to say that Sarupaha means of the same nature. Of the same nature means if consciousness is Sat Chit Ananda, then all the upadhis, the consciousness abiding in the upadhis as it were, the consciousness which is as the indweller of all the upadhis, this same consciousness is Purna, Sat Chit Ananda. It has not fragmented. It has not, what's the word for it? Compromised itself in any way. It has not compromised itself, it has not fragmented, it has not changed in order to, quote unquote, get into an upadhi. Oh, here, this is a very small earthworm upadhi. I can't even tell which is the beginning, which is the end, where is it? I can't even tell. And the blessed thing, if you cut it, both of them go this way. Both of them go, This shows the unfragmentable thing. Yeah, if you cut the earthworm, for a minute it will be shocked. What happened to me? You don't know which is the front, which is the back. You cut it, and then then after they recover from the shock, both go, merrily in different directions. Both pieces start walking. They readjust. This is consciousness. This is that unfragmentable intelligence. This is what is all knowledge, all Sat, even abiding in a lowly little worm. See this power of this. So even though it was all put together, this earthworm, look at this mithya, it is so fantastic. So this was the front, this is where it goes, that is the back, And then you cut it in the middle, the back and the front are completely reoriented. It's just so, this shows the whole indivisibility. At every level, even at the smallest level, you cannot divide anything. You can only as though divide. And the divisions themselves are mithya. The divisions themselves are a reality that is as though, which is based on consciousness itself. It depends on consciousness. And so this consciousness, which is akin to the fire, which is likened to the fire, which is shooting off thousands and millions of sparks. And I told you each spark is the spark, the corollary here in the example are the jivas. Up till here only the example applies, but we have to see that unlike in the fire, what distinguishes one spark and the other spark? Space. What distinguishes the spark from the fire? Space. Space belongs to the same order of reality as the fire. Here what do we have? What distinguishes one upadhi from another? Consciousness. What is the upadhi? Consciousness. What is the indweller of the upadhi? Consciousness. Everything is just that same consciousness. That consciousness alone, without undergoing any change, we are going to see that in the next mantra, has taken on the form of the fire, has taken on the form of the space, has taken on the form of the spark, and has taken on the form of the upadhi, has taken on the indweller of the upadhi. This Puraswami, that first Purusha, has taken on the status of that which distinguishes one upadhi from another. Otherwise everybody would be just glommed on one body, one mind, one complex, No, that would be very complex indeed. So therefore, the distinguishing factor also is consciousness. So consciousness has taken on the space as itself it has taken on. And then, this is very fascinating. So everything is consciousness, differentiated from one another as though by consciousness. Even when you consider the wrapping, or you consider the fixings, what is inside, or you consider the space that is intervening between one particular wrapped up cloaked upadhi and the other cloak. Correct? Everything is consciousness. So on the the fire example only goes to look at the sarupa of the same nature. And here also we can make a we can take it one more step. Fascinating. So the jivas, the living beings from the tree onwards to the celestial beings, all conscious beings, you can say that they are Sat Chit Ananda, correct? So they are the same as consciousness. But what about rock, mountain, Akasha, river? What about all of them? Satchidananda. But they don't have Chit. Do they have Chit? They have Chit, but they cannot express itself. If they have Chit. But so, in explaining this, we can take it a little more. This is just, a little cherry on the top, okay? Yeah. This is just a little minute understanding. And sukshma. You can say that all the jivas are Chit Sarupaha. Yeah. All the jivas, the living beings, are Chit Sarupaha, means of the same nature as that of Chit. And all the so-called insentient beings, we don't have anything really that way, but if we make that distinction from this particular standpoint of sentient and insentient, the so-called insentient beings are Sat Sarupaha. Sat predominant, Sat Sarupaha, of the same nature as Sat. And these are of the same nature as what? Chit. Of course, they are all Satchidananda, but here Chit is highlighted in the jivas, because that Chit alone, that I am the knower, I am aware of myself, that alone makes the Mahavakya possible. That Chit Jnanam, that is where the Mahavakya takes place. That Chit is equal to this Chit, same thing. This conscious being is equal to that conscious being. This conscious being is not the conscious being that is identified with the body-mind-sense complex, but it is the conscious being that is identified with that which is the cause of the universe. That conscious being. So this Purusha is that Purusha. That is how the Mahavakya is possible, because of this Jnanam, this Chit. And so therefore, Chit Sarupaha, Sarve Jivaha, and then Sat Sarupaha, Sarve Sthavaras, not even Sthavaras, the other, mountain, etc. This is what, this is how we can take it. So, but the Sarupa is the most important word here, of the same nature. they have not, it has not undergone any change. Consciousness has not undergone any change at all. This is very, very important to understand. So therefore, it has not become anything. It continues to be what it is. It's so beautiful, so beautiful. Further, so sahasrashah anekashah prabhavante. So in millions, these jivas are churned out. And prabhavante, with a particular trajectory, with a particular karmic trajectory, with a particular, kind of a, what's the word for it? Physiological, cultural, biological trajectory. They have all these, they follow these laws in keeping with the laws. That's going to say that later. All of them are coming out in millions. Sarupaha agni salakshanaha eva. They are exactly like the fire. What? The sparks. And so too the jivas are exactly the same nature of that consciousness. So here he takes this to the what is exemplified, the darshtanta. So he says, eva tatha ukta lakshanat aksharad. So in the same manner, eva tatha means in the same manner, tatha eva, ukta lakshanat, from the akshara that was described as that which is impartite, that which is not an object of one's, understanding, all this that was talked about, from this, ukta lakshanat aksharat, from this akshara which was previously defined as limitless, vividhaha, means nana deha upadhi bhedam, anusritya anuvidhiyamanatvat vividhaha, therefore. So vividhaha means various buddhis, various upadhis are there. Vividhaha means many and varied. What kind? Nana deha upadhin. So various, various body, mind, sense complexes. Let's see what he says for upadhi, the English here. So the of the foregoing characteristics, different kinds of limiting adjuncts. Correct. This is the only thing they have. Vividhaha bhavaha, different kinds of creatures, different because of the conformity with various bodies that form the limiting adjuncts. So then Adi Shankara gives an example. How do they come out? Nana deha upadhi bhedam anuvidhiya manatvat, meaning they confirm to various divisions of the upadhis. We have already explained upadhi, so now I'm just going to use the word upadhi. So those containers, those wrappers, they conform to the rules of how they behave. Like to explain more in detail, like frog upadhi, correct? Mm-hmm. Frog body. Mm-hmm. And what kind of a mind will there be in a frog body? Frog mind, naturally. That is what is in keeping with the upadhi, everything has to go. Frog minds, what kind of legs will be there? Frog legs. You can't have human legs on a frog, that will be very inconvenient. Amphibian face and human legs, very difficult. So it will have to have frog buddhi, frog body. And human being, what? Human buddhi, hopefully. Correct? Human body, human mind. But if supposing the human mind had frog buddhi, very difficult. Even if there is an important gathering, put the tongue out and keep, catching insects. Keep looking for insects. And the human, with the frog buddhi, will jump on a lily pad and sink. Glub, 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 because it doesn't have any clue that I'm not as light as a frog. So this mix-up cannot take place, correct? So, upadhi bhedam anuvidhiyam bhasamanatvat means because they are following bhedam anusritya. So each Bheda, each thing has to look different. This is where otherwise Maya will be unemployed. Yeah, yeah, Maya will be collecting unemployment. So therefore, so Maya has to be at work. And so Maya has to make a convincing, kaya of every, Maya has to have convincing kayas made up. Kaya means body. Yeah. So every kaya has to look different, has to act different. Frog has to jump around, the insect has to buzz around, and then what? The human being also jumps around because monkey evolute, and then so this way all these buddhis have to look very different even though they are one and the same. Because if they are one and the same and look the same, what maza nahi aayega? There is no fun in the universe. There is no fun. Everything, you go to a buffet. I mean, the reason people go to a buffet is why? Why do people go? For variety. Otherwise, you go to the buffet, bread, and then bread, and then bread, and then bread, sarupaha, everything is bread from beginning to end. Nobody will go to, even the bread aficionado will not go to such a buffet. Won't go. How much bread? Now if the same bread, is made into bread pudding and, some casserole, soup with, what is that called? Croutons on it, and then French toast, and then something else, with cutlets with breadcrumbs. Then it becomes a buffet. Of course, it's still monochrome. It's full of bread, but there are other things, and there is some change that has taken place. Correct? Yeah. So same thing. So like this, life will not be worth living if everybody looked the same, if everybody talked the same, if all the things that we used were the same. And, it's just so boring. If we have come here to exhaust the karma, may as well have fun while doing it. Correct? So therefore, this vichitra chitra, this whole picture of this Jagat is so well thought out. It is so fantastic. It is so beautiful that it doesn't need any more, any more peppering, because it's already different. Everything is different. And so the upadhis, earlier we just had one ingredient in the burrito, correct? And now certain other things, the wraps are painted yellow, green, red. Really they have. They put beetroot tortilla and make it red color tortilla. They make spinach and make it, yellow, green. And then there is something else they put, I don't know what they put, turmeric, and make it yellow. They have all these things. And so each one looks very different now. Before we had an easy time, okay, everything is bean. Before we could say, been there, done that, we have seen these upadhis. But now each thing is looking so tightly put together and so discrete from the other. That is the spoof. That is why we need this knowledge to see how this mechanism, how it has happened. How the upadhis have become complexified. And how each, even the tiniest earthworm is such a complex upadhi. Yeah. Cut yourself into two, the legs will not walk away this side and the hands will not walk away that side. No, finished. The earthworm is much more intelligent that way. It knows how to survive because people are always digging in the ground and it's being cut up every time. So it is a mechanism for survival. It's beautiful. Human being has other kinds of survival mechanisms. Not this one. So beautiful, you see. So therefore, this whole upadhi business is not as easy as we thought it was, is not as simple as just putting bean in one, tortilla and wrapping it up. And seeing with X-ray eyes the tortilla and what should I say, ignoring the tortilla and going straight towards the bean, even that is difficult. But now that the tortilla has been painted and then wrapped in a bow, and then what? It is being taken by the stork to deliver to somebody's house, and then another tortilla is being born somewhere else, and third one, fourth one, each one is speckled, one has specks, one has all kinds of things. So the upadhis are becoming varied, many, and infinitely interesting. Very interesting. But still, cognitively, I have to be able to see that they are all what? Sarupaha. Yes. Sat Sarupaha, Chit Sarupaha, definitely Ananda Swarupaha. Sat Sarupaha, Chit Sarupaha, in terms of Sat, Chit, Ananda, they are not different at all. I have to see this. So we'll take a slight break here. I think we have done quite a lot for 1 hour. And we'll come back in 3 minutes and slowly limp along with the bhashya. Few sentences, it's okay, no rush, so long as we understand. Om Namah Shivaya. Just 2 minutes stretch or do whatever you need to come back. What a nice mantra, huh?
Very nice mantra.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Okay, so I have an M&M theory. So it's all chocolate.
It's all chocolate,
And
yes.
it's all different colors, and the red one happens to be fire, and that's me. And so what's really the point?
What's the point?
Yeah, once I reach this understanding,
Yes.
once there is a removal,
Yeah. Of the separation.
yeah,
Yeah.
there is no separation.
Yeah. Once there is.
Once there's no separation
Yeah.
of this from everything else.
Then there is no fear, no anxiety, no stress, no sorrow,
And
No
no
insect-
desire.
no insecurity. Desire may be there, but there is no pressure coming from the desire to be fulfilling itself so that you can feel complete.
But so much of the teaching has to do with, how grateful I am that I'm a red one. Because the red one has the chance of knowing all of
Yeah,
the others. And
sure.
the others are not suffering.
And they are suffering, but they don't have a way to express it, and neither do they know how to gain this knowledge, because that particular upadhi is not fit for the knowledge. Is not fit for internalizing the knowledge. That upadhi is just to exhaust some karma from previous lives. That's all that they are. But they are not suffering in the sense they may have physical suffering. They may even have mental suffering. The dog, if it's abused, of course it will have mental suffering, yes. But the thing is, they're not able to express it, but they don't have a suffering that is truly human, in the sense it's based on a sense of deep discontent, which I cannot get rid of without this knowledge. That is what the animals don't have. That's why they are already free. Come. So that's why the animals don't have that.
What is free?
Free,
We're just talking free of choice.
free of not just choice, free of a discontent centered on I, on the self. The dog does not think, I think I need to go to Europe for a vacation. I've had it, always America. What is this? Look at these policies, I'm sick of it. I'm going to climb on a plane and go to Europe. That desire is not there. It's a program. Of course the choices are programmed, but the discontent is also not there. The dog is not discontented enough to say that I'm going to do this. It is happy, so to speak, being what it is. And if it is treated well, fed, and given a chance to reproduce or do whatever it does naturally, then, it's not complaining. If the human being is allowed to live a good life, reproduce, and live their life naturally, it's not that they are not complaining. They are complaining all the time. Either they are complaining or hiding their complaint and going to malls and balls, trying to distract themselves. See, all the new innovations, they have tablets. In my time, tablet was that which I swallowed when I had fever. That was what was called a tablet. Nowadays people are swallowing a different kind of tablet. Everything that comes out is ingested. So they have tablets, they have some, phones are there, and everything has eye in front of it. And then recently I saw this finger-long device, small one, tiny it is. And it looks very innocuous. It just looks like a small cylindrical thing with a little laser light. That's all it is. And then you do something to it. I had a seatmate on the plane, with two noisy children. And sitting next to me, the children were with the mother on the other side. He was sitting with one child here, and the other child was sitting with the mother. So he sent the other child over, and the wife came here, and then, he did something. And then the seat in front, which is the seat back, that turned into some cartoon started to play on that. He projected it from his iPhone onto the seat back. Tiny little device. This is to amuse ourselves, to stop complaining. All the devices are based on the human desire to end this discontent. This is what it is. So the devices are based on desires. This is what it is. And why do we need so many devices? To keep everyone going, because everyone has this addiction to looking at something other than oneself, so that to not focus on the self, which is a source which they perceive it to be a source of discontent. One more question. I will look at that and then get back to this. Okay, that's not a question. Okay. National Geographic had one dinner for the most adventurous ones, in which they cooked scorpions and tarantulas. The whole buffet, quote-unquote buffet, was full of poor scorpions, poor tarantulas. And only the really adventurous people could partake of this buffet. This is Mahapapa. That's all we can say. Yeah, so sad. And so, that's what it is. It is the whole understanding that not only we don't say that you're a chosen being. You're not a chosen being. You're just a being because of your previous karma who happened to be lucky enough to be in this particular upadhi that is fit for this knowledge, which will free one from the discontentment that every upadhi has, but is not able to articulate. Every jiva has. Jiva means the ignorant, unfreed being. So freed from this notion of limitation, what happens? There is no sorrow, no discontent, and no stress, no fear. Desires may be there, but they are more like, a vibhuti, a glory, rather than the desire itself. Because there's no pressure accompanying the desire to get it fulfilled. Mm-hmm. Desire is there, it just reigns. That's all it is. Yeah. Further, all right. So then he gives an example. So Bhedam Anuvidhiya Manatvat Vividhaha means different. Hey Somya, oh dear one, Vividhaha Bhavaha Jivaha Akashad Iva Ghatadi Parichinnaha. So even Adi Shankara is more or less a proponent of the Avachedavada here, because this particular verse lends itself to that. You can't do pratibimba. The fire is not being reflected here. So therefore we take the whole theory of as though conditioned consciousness, and don't say conditioned as though consciousness, as though conditioned consciousness. And so according to that, he gives an example. He says, Akashad, from space, we have carved out what? Pot space, room space, hall space, correct? Mm-hmm. And we've already seen this, so this will go very fast. So we have carved out all these spaces. And then what is separating each space from another space? Space. So really, is it separate? No. Because if space is separating one space from another space, Is there a separation? Say no, come on, let's go further. There is no separation. Correct? And so here too, he says, just like we call ghatakasha, ghatena avachinna akasha, a space that is as though conditioned by the form called pot. Ghatakasha. Then we have what? Udarakasha. Udara avachinna akasha. What is udara? Lambodara yanamaha. Udara means tummy. Lamba is big, long tummy. Yeah. Udara avachinna akasha. A space that is as though conditioned by the stomach lining. Yeah. What is that called? Stomach space, part space, head space. That's why you say, I'm spaced out today. Where else does space exist? Lung space. Yeah. I mean, look at your own body. Lung, there is space. Now it's full. Now there is space. When you exhale, each time you exhale, there is space in the lungs. There is space in the veins. There is space everywhere. Sometimes there is space in the bones. That's why it goes click, click, click. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Yeah. It makes ominous sounds. Because there is air or space, akasha, between the joints. And that akasha between the joints increases as proportionately to age. Yeah, as one grows older, the akasha between the joints, increases. Just one more way to, get out of this upadhi. That's all. So, one more reason, one more way. That's all it is. So then there are so many forms of space, but all space is only space, correct? This is what is Adi Shankara's example. He says, don't get obsessed with his fire and spark, because the example is not completely appropriate to the end level. The example is good only to look at the sarupaha. If you want to take this beyond that, come to my example, he says. Let us look at ghatadi akasha. Ghatadi akashad iva. How from the space itself has sprung pot space, room space, hall space, kitchen space, bathroom space, stomach space, head space, lung space. Out of that, how it has sprung, so too, out of this unbridled, the consciousness which is free of all conditioning has sprung what? Sushira bhedaha means of slightly different, slightly, very sukshma. The differences don't matter. Ghatadi, upadhi, prabhe. Oh, did we read this? Yeah, we read until the comma. Ghatadi, upadhi, prabhedham, anubhavanti. So just like the spaces go in conjunction with a particular upadhi, and then he says, evam, nana rupam, nana rupa krita dehopadhi prabhavanti anuprajayante. Yeah, we'll read this now. Evam nana nama rupa krita deha upadhi prabhavam anuprajayante tatra chaiva tasminneva akshare apiyanti deha upadhi vilayam anuliyante ghatadi vilayam anu iva sushira bhedaha. Yeah, this we have seen. Very nice. He says that just like all these things come out of this one thing called space, then we have space, 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 pot space, this space, that space, all other spaces. Similarly, we have, evam, in the same manner, out of this aksharat eva, from this akshara alone, what has come out? Nana nama rupa krita. So these various names and forms which have defined the, upadhis. How are the upadhis defined? Red tortilla, green tortilla, they have names and they have forms. So the upadhi is nothing but the name and form that is wrapping around this as though wrapping around this consciousness. So this name and form are the culprits of the upadhi, really. So the upadhi is nothing but name and form as though surrounding consciousness. So nana nama rupa krita deha upadhi. Deha means body, upadhi, prabhavam anuprajayante. So in keeping with the rules of this particular upadhi, frog upadhi, frog buddhi, etc., they also get born. Tat, and not only get born, they are sustained by that alone. He doesn't say that because he is doing bhashya, and the Shruti doesn't say that. Shruti says tatraiva jayante apiyanti. So he also says from there only they are born, and unto that they get resolved. Unto that only they get resolved. Tasmin eva akshare. In that akshara alone they resolve. Dehopadhi vilayam anu vilayam. Is that vilayam? Yeah, okay. It's not clear in my book, that's why.
Yes.
Vilayam, yeah. Vilayam anuliyante means they also resolve into that. Ghatadi vilayam anu iva sushira bhedaha. Just like when the pots are broken, these sushira bhedaha, these small changes between small pot space, big pot space, room space, hall space, the small differences between these spaces also resolve into what? Space. So he gives this particular example to enhance further our understanding of this whole discussion of what? The particular mantra. Yatha akashasya sushirabheda utpatti pralaya nimittatvam ghataadi upadhikritam eva tat tatvat aksharasyapi namarupa krita dehopadhi nimittam eva jiva utpatti pralaya nimittatvam. Yeah. So just as these differences, the spatial differences, for the spatial differences, what is the adhisthana? Hello?
Space.
Yeah, space. What is the adhisthana of the pot space, room space, etc.? I'm trying to see if he uses that. He keeps using the word limiting adjuncts.
Yeah.
Everywhere. You have that translation?
I don't
No,
have
yeah.
translation, I'm just looking at the book. It's not
Yeah, everywhere limited adjunct, limiting adjunct. Yeah. So what is the adhisthana for the different spaces as though surrounded by pot, room, hall, etc.? What is that? Space. Okay? So so likewise all these bodies, these upadhis, these minds and all that originate in keeping with the laws of creation, in keeping with the all these nama rupas, how they have to, in keeping with the upadhis, in keeping with the laws, under various nama rupas, names and forms. What is the adhisthana for that? Akshara. Yeah, because upon the dissolutions of the various bodies and upadhis, into that akshara they merge, so to speak. The dissolutions of the bodies and the dissolution of the hall space, room space, etc. is talked about on a similar note. Because when you remove, see, you have an office, correct? Office is nothing but 2,000 square feet of space. And then you put cubbies, cubicles. Yeah. This is manager's office. Bada cubicle, big one. And a door also, because he is manager. And then, lowly worker, just one small little corner in the room with one one screen, And then supervisor, maybe three areas. So the whole thing is cut up. This 2,000 square feet is cut up, and each one thinks that this is my space. My space. And then the manager's cubby, you go into the manager's cubby, and then he or she will have pictures of the spouse, family, and then they will have, what is that? One pot plant and one, something, whatever, some trophy. Only one trophy they got in their whole life, that also is polished and brought there. This is the manager's cubby. Then you go to the worker's cubby. Worker will have his or her own family and another pot plant and another thing. Each one will be saying, this is my space. And then you come from a helicopter, and then you take the whole thing, that whole jigsaw, that whole maze-like thing that they have put to mark out these spaces. What happens to all of them? Everything merges into space. And so too, like this cubby space, manager space, worker space, supervisor space, foreman space, everyone's spaces, these upadhis, they take they take the body so seriously, always putting lotion and something all the time, And I saw all this travel, educates me so much. So I saw this woman sitting in the airport, sitting next to me, waiting for I was on a layover, waiting for the next flight. And she had some kind of a stringy, like a springy, elastic band on her hand, And I didn't pay much attention to it. But she was drawing attention all the time. It was some things were dangling from it, and one thing was dangling from it was one bottle of lotion, tiny bottle, and that she is trying to squeeze it and put so that she can always have it at her hand, so to speak, without needing to put it in a pocket. She can always have it right there, and so like this, so many devices, and take the upadhi so seriously. Oh, backache. Oh, front ache. Oh, sides are also aching. Oh, fever. Oh, dying. Oh, no, now I'm okay. Oh, everything is taken so seriously, my God. And then what? You peel off the upadhi. It is just consciousness. It is just Brahman everywhere. So this Brahman with Nama, Rupa, Upadhi, Bheda Kritam. This Bheda is just made by the form called the body with all the muscles and blood and everything, that makes this tick, all the prana and everything. And then what? All the ingredients that go in this Nama Rupa, poof, yeah. That's why one leaves the Upadhi behind. Yeah, because the Upadhi is no longer useful. Cannot see, cannot hear. What? Cannot hear, cannot smell, cannot taste. Taste is the last to go, they say. They say it's the last sense to go.
Oh, really?
Yes. And in Ayurveda they say that. So one always has this something, to keep keep making life worthwhile. I still remember, when I was small, there was some great aunt or grand aunt or someone was there, 90s, and had been bedridden for quite some time. But no swadhinata, no freedom of movement, nothing, not able to move, not able to see really. And nobody knew what was wrong. She just one day took to bed. She was nicely, I heard later that she was happily walking, talking, one day just took to bed and never got up. And all seva was being done. A lot of daughter-in-laws were there, and daughters-in-law, and then, the grandchildren, everybody, great-grandchildren, everybody was doing seva. Everything was brought to her, She was in bed, couldn't see properly, couldn't do this. And whoever came, but she was very intuitive. Whoever came, she would touch the hand and know who it was. She would touch them and know who it was. So I went. with one grandmother I went. And then she saw the grandmother and she recognized her. And the grandmother was very scared to go. I didn't know why, I was 5 or 6. I was watching everything fascinated. It was very fascinating. And the grandmother was very scared to go. And then she said, she caught hold of the grandmother's hand, the invalid, and said, "Where are those jalebis I told you to bring last time?" The grandmother had not seen her in 5 years. Still remembered the jalebis. And jalebis, she should not have anything except dal water and rice water. And she's wanting jalebis. So the taste is the last to go. Until the dying day, one keeps wanting, has some fancies. Just one samosa, one last samosa, something or the other. So this way, when the taste buds resolve, where do they go? To consciousness. When the smell resolves, goes to consciousness. When the prana resolves, joins consciousness. Everything is consciousness. It's not, everything is consciousness. Just the nama rupa alone is the separating factor. Just like when you go into an office, which is just a big space cut up into various spaces, and you remove the cutting, the cutting factors, which are the name and form. You remove that, as it were, and then what? All there is one big, vast, expanding space. That is all there is. There is nothing more. And so, here, similarly, when you remove the nama rupa upadhis, what you have is just one consciousness. Then, of course, comes a very important question. How did this consciousness become many? Ayyo! What have we been studying so far? What have been studying this so far? Did it become many? No, it did not become many. Yeah, I know it did not become many. I know it is as though. But what about this? What about that? What about that one? Which one? The one who is at home, who doesn't come to Vedanta classes. What about that one? What about this one? Because after I go from the class, I have to, the duality is what becomes real, correct? Because I have to get into the car. Is the car the same as me? No, then I need not get into it. If the car is the same as me, I should just go brrr, and I should just go. But no, I have to get inside the car. I have to start the car. The key is separate. Car is separate. Everything is separate. Road is separate from the car. I can't become one with the road. Only roadkill becomes one with the road. Nothing else. I can't become one with the road. I can't become one with the next car that is also going. Correct? So then, that is more real. That duality, you may say Nama Rupa, you just say that for Vedanta's sake. But that is actually more real than this consciousness. Because why did this consciousness create? How did this consciousness create? And this, this whole thing of this, how to remove this duality in the buddhi becomes the next project, both for the Mundaka Upanishad and Adi Shankara himself. And I don't want to start that new topic right now, because then we'll be here till next weekend. So, so therefore, I'm going to stop over here, even though it's 3 minutes short of time. So we will stop here. And 2 announcements. Wednesday we don't have class. Why? Because I want everyone to look at the Shastra fresh on Thursday after a little gap. Okay? Yeah, so Wednesday there are no classes, there is no Kathopanishad. Tell James, write an email to James. Yeah, there is no Kathopanishad and there is no Kathopanishad in the Bhashya class at 3 o'clock. There is no Kathopanishad in the regular ongoing Kathopanishad class at 6 o'clock either. Now, Thanksgiving retreat is there. Those who are able to join online, you can join. However, you have to not come on the Adobe site. We are going to try to have me not look at one more thing. So, therefore, we will only broadcast it on the live stream site. And Kavita or somebody, you can just give the link right there. So if people don't have, they can make a note of it. So please go to the live stream site and get the link if you have it on hand. Otherwise, it should be on the website also. So, and then the schedule will be posted on Adobe, later, so you can look at that. Make a whiteboard and post it there. So that is starting on Thursday night and then up to Sunday afternoon. And so we'll be having 3 classes a day, and we are taking one verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which is from the 9th chapter. That is what we will do. Yeah, so Kavita has posted the link, so you keep, anything else to announce?
I'm just wondering, will they be there on Thursday evening, Swamiji?
Yeah, we should put it on. We should, if we are saying we are broadcasting it, we should broadcast it. We should not make a difference. Then we have one more announcement or connected to this, is that those of you who are local, local beings, meaning living in in Eugene, and you have signed up for the retreat, please give yourself a gift and take it not online. Yeah. Give yourself a gift of coming here. There is a beauty of studying with people. There is a beauty of being, present in a certain way. So give yourself a gift of that. Of course, if you're sick or if it's unavoidable, then it's different. But if you're able to come, you please come and participate in the retreat completely. Don't stay at home and then say I'm taking it online, because that's what you're doing anyway. So it won't have that impact. Yeah, so come and take that extra step and do that. You will not be disappointed. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. One more thing is that the retreat, because of the retreat next weekend, we will not be having Mundakopanishad classes, needless to say, but I'm saying it just in case. So we will recommence with the Mundakopanishad classes when? Yeah, week after that. The 5th and the 6th and 7th of December. Yeah. Okay? Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.